so the research that I'm doing with the Head Start children is I'm using the actual people and looking at their distance between these disamenities. Now, with the zip code, everybody is aggregated into one big lump. But we know that, and I was mentioning that, like this is practically in 48207, 48212. Well, anyway, it's close to the border of the zip code. And so when you want to look at its influence, you really want to see all around it. Now, when you have the actual addresses of kids, you can do that, or of the population, you can do that. But if you're working with an aggregate data, how can you do that? Well, with the GIS methods, the researchers are able to do what's called a buffering, is to draw miles of circles around the location, and then estimate what the distribution is within that buffering, which ignores the boundary lines of the zip codes. So you're getting probably a more realistic view of what's in there. When I mentioned the UCC update, the 20 years later, and I said that they were using more advanced methodology, one of the things that they were using in their analyses were, instead of just zip codes, using, or counties, using buffers, so that they was a more accurate picture of what's going on.
Yeah, I wonder, a few weeks ago you heard Dr. Esteban Assad speak on climate and what's happening worldwide in the climate systems. And this is where and we talk about sustainability and what kind of future we want to leave for our children, our children's children, is how these things come together. Because with rising temperatures, especially in urban areas, you have what is called now more ozone action days. And when the ozone action days, when you have an inversion, and especially in the summertime, and you have that mixed with the kind of material that's coming from the stacks, it's going to have even a greater whammy, will it not, on people's health and the elderly and children, and especially people in the urban areas and the low income and minority. So these are all kind of working together, are they not?
Yeah, it's multiple sources of problems, all environmentally related.
And I want to say that this is why we try to think of solutions like sustainability. And we'll get into renewable energy because in a few weeks, and energy efficiency, because once you get into renewable energy, then
that's the new name of this.
Yeah, you would not. Yeah, well, they call it. But really, if you did that, you wouldn't need to burn things or put stuff out in the atmosphere or waste. And if you have technologies that and ways that people can live with the planet that do not produce things that stay in and poison other people and leave those residues and remnants, then we don't have to worry. Would it be a great world if we didn't have to worry about lead levels in children anymore, or didn't have to worry about childhood asthma? And we can imagine that, and that's why what you are doing in taking this course, and why it's so important to kind of start to imagine and dream, other possibilities. So in a sense, we can, like Alexander, cut the Gordian knot and dream an alternative way that we can. So these can be museum pieces, and someday.
Keep it all indoors.
Right. I would just say that if you one other thing is to say about research, and you leave these papers and things, I said it's a good conclusion. How do you trust things? I think two questions to ask. I think Lane would agree. One is, who's paying for the study?
Yeah,
who's the source? And secondly, if at all possible, is it peer reviewed? That means, are these papers, research studies, are they going to fellow peers who are passing judgment, like a jury can say thumbs up, thumbs down, you need to correct this, so that you have a filtering system, a kind of quality control, so that some particular think tank or some institute that's funded by certain sources can just spill out their own white papers and put it out there and say this is what it is and everything's okay. And you mentioned, we won't mention names, but you mentioned one study.
There is one particular study that was made headlines just about, that so-and-so has shown that there is no such thing as environmental injustice, because, or that race and income are not influencing where the siting is. And then when you read the article, you look at the footnote, and it says this study was financed by Waste Management Company. Any of the trucks going in there, for example, are from Waste Management.
It's just like thing with the drugs. Like we have pharmaceutical, like they're testing, and if you don't go a peer review or have an independent, trusting jury that can say this is actually does not have any harms, it's what it's advertised, then it's all of us, buyer beware.
Yep.
And again, as a future. But we're here because it's a moral issue. It's because it has to do with our children and our children's children, and especially as Jesus says, among the least among us. So.
And one of the things that I mentioned when I was talking about the executive order, that what it led to was the environmental justice segment of the environmental impact statements, and that when you look at some of the ones that we looked at, when you look at analyses that we who have one set of biases and the people who are looking to be permitted have another set of biases, the two analyses can look very, very different, which is unfortunate.